Hey everybody, welcome back to HBM mod. Today we're playing with oil again, because I'm bored, and I'm waiting on some stuff to finish up, namely antimatter production and energy production, and this guy who keeps yelling at me to check on him, see what's going on. 7 in this guy, 6 in this guy. These actually have like 4 bajillion in them, but it's because HBM hasn't added fluid diodes, that we're never gonna know. I mean, he might have added fluid diodes by this point. Who knows? Who knows? Hopefully, we get one-way fluid diodes. That would really fix a lot of the issues with the redstone down there. It does have issues. It's not perfect. Okay, it's actually becoming sentient too, which is annoying because the more I add to it, the more sentient it becomes. And then I can't just tell it what to do, and then it does it. It has to argue with me first, which is annoying. Very annoying. But that's just redstone for you. The more you add to it, and the better you are at redstone, the more sentient your redstone will become. And that's just one example of a redstone abomination gone rogue. Like it's working right now. In like 10 minutes, it'll probably be like, haha, I'm gonna unreset your switches. Yeah, maybe you should have thought about that. You weren't expecting this. I'm gonna reset the switches and blow up your reactor right now. Oh, okay. That's kind of messed up. The fact that it can just decide whenever it wants what to do is kind of a problem for me, because as an engineer, I see that is significant problem. It could go rogue, end the world, and then I wouldn't have anything to, and I wouldn't have any way of stopping it, which is a big issue. Although that could be worse, couldn't it? It could destructicate the world, for all I know. So I think now it's time to hook up this light oil, like so. Light oil goes in. Boom. Check it out. Nice. It's a septic tank for light oil. It's in the ground, dude. I might want to bury that actually. 1 block deeper and it will be in the basement. I think this section might actually get a basement too. That's the thing. Is that it's gonna look amazing when it gets its basement level. Because the basement is amazing looking. You haven't seen the basement. You don't know the joy of... Well, actually, you'll have. Maybe if you roll back a few episodes, you'll probably see the basement a few times. It gets a few cameos here and there. Rubbish! Go in the rubbish bin. Boom. All of this garbage can be disposed of. Anyway, we're gonna need blood donors for actually producing our oil, by the way, so... If you're interested, no, that's not even funny, dude. Shut up. This is not for energy, by the way. Some people think oil is for energy, and this is a very interesting argument to make. There's not really a good way to produce oil into energy, because nuclear energy just completely defeats it most of the time. Although there is ways to get energy from oil. The oil energy is not as good as nuclear power. There is combined cycle gas turbines, which would be the way to go if you're thinking about doing an oil energy setup. If you're thinking about doing an oil energy setup, I think you should consider doing a nuclear oil setup, or nuclear oil setup would actually be interesting, but doing a nuclear power setup instead, because nuclear power is better than oil energy, especially for the environment, because if you look at the map, I've disposed of my waste very properly over there. You can see that. You can guess what happened over there. I just kind of got a little bored and decided to throw down a bunch of blocks because I was bored. Alrighty, so... I'm gonna flip these guys around. Now, oil energy could actually... You could do... early game, oil energy is okay. But once you get to the late game, there is no such thing as oil energy. You're going for fusion, watch reactor. Basically all the stuff we've already covered. At this point, the reason I'm setting up these is chemicals. Because I like chemicals. Everybody does. Chemicals are amazing. And I think you also like chemicals, so that is why I'm doing this, because I will be making the best chemical setup of all time. Honestly, by the time this video comes out, I'll probably be somewhere else right now. I'll be in Georgia, which is gonna be interesting. Why? We've already talked about that, but yep. That's actually, you know what? Why would I talk about the same thing twice? Well, I've talked about the city experience twice. City experience is actually whack. I can talk about that again. I've talked about it like 20 times, dude. City is just actually weird. Like, I'm never gonna get used to cities. The one time I went to a city, it's like, why do we have space-age teleportation devices that teleport us from floor to floor and stuff? Like, what is this magic? I'm confused. Why is this existing? Why are the buildings so massive? Why do you need massive buildings? They're like 500 of me tall or something ridiculous. No, I've heard that Georgia's a pretty good place. Pretty good state, I've heard. Because I heard it's kind of warm. But also, I don't know, honestly. I kind of can survive in any condition. Whether it's be cold, -4, or like, warm. Honestly, I could probably go even lower than -4 degrees if I really want. Actually, yeah, it's been -14 here before, so I mean, of course I can go lower than that. Right, so bitamin is actually the first thing we're going to need to crack, and to crack it, we're going to set up some of these. The alarms aren't going off. It finished! It finished! 3 episodes and it finished. Holy crap, dude. Guess what? The system is actually clear now. And it resetted. Yeah, look at this! So cool, isn't it? And then it's all of these have like 40,000 in them, which, I mean, that's to be expected. They'll have a tiny amount. Now I can show you all how this thing works when it increments, because it increments them, actually. It's kind of cool. Let's go ahead and give this a test run, because I set up this new pipeline this morning, like, as soon as I got up. So I have no clue if that's gonna work. This is filling them up. Filling this up, okay. Hold on. What's going on here, dude? What the heck is going on here? I need a status report on these. Can I get some status on these things? What the heck is going on with these? They are... Oh, these are the only ones that are not clogged. Why are these guys clogged here? Rubbish. That's why. Of course. We've processed so much mud through... Okay, we'll have to give them a minute to get caught up and stuff. Alright, so this app needs BTX and phosgene, which, I mean, that's pretty simple. That one on the end does. Then we're gonna need the dash, the other thing, which is rubber, or is it not? That's air, that, and then rubber. Right. Wait a second. Isn't there one of these for the, stuff? There should be one of these for the rocket fuel. Oh, there's 2 more. Wow. That's a bit, unexpected. I didn't expect to have 2 more of these guys. I mean, the fact that we use 6 for this is ridiculous. But, one of them for PVC. So, we don't need the PVC guy. No, that's the wrong one. That one's that one. That one's this one. And then this last guy is gonna be whatever this guy is. Rubber. We don't need rocket fuel currently, so that's not a problem. We probably can just ignore those for now. We need kerosene, which is the thing that's gonna be a big problem in the future. We're getting to rockets, but it's not getting to rockets yet. We still gotta make the spark energy cube, then we'll make rockets. I'm excited for the spark energy cube. I have never made it before. 1 tera HE of garbage. Holy baloney. That's a lot of stuff. So the first of these things I'm setting up is right here. This is gonna be for the actual, what's it called? The stuff from this guy. The bitamin, right? The bitamin's gonna go down here. It's gonna get processed through this guy. Well, to a degree, it's gonna get processed. We're gonna have an actual tank first, and then we'll have the guy who's set up for processing that producing electricity. And remember, we're building a basement too. Because I like basements for some reason. I mean, hold on a second. You want examples of how I like basements? This is an example of a basement. This is an example of a basement. Right over. Here's an example of a basement. This one's a little bit more dingy than the others, but these ones are like, oh, big and fancy. I like this one. This one's my favorite. Actually, I like the Watts one the most. That one's got that one's got a lot of time put into it because of all this micro controller setup thingy. This thing is actually a doohickey. Like, this is the real doohickey right here. An absolute thingamabob, if I've ever seen one. So you can see here that this bitumen tank actually will hook straight into this guy, who is going to run the bitumen into crude oil and aromatic hydrocarbons. One of those needs to be outputted into its own tank, which this is actually a fantastic way of setting things up because it ends up putting the aromatic hydrocarbons tank on the correct side for an input into this guy, which is going to be really efficient. So I already have the aromatic hydrocarbons tank because these guys actually will store their fluid if you place them down and then have them slightly full. If they don't have any fluid in them, if they have one fluid, it's gonna be lost, but that's not a big loss. It's one fluid unit. I mean, like, what? What are you doing at that point, man? Why are you trying to keep a fluid unit in there anyway? That crude oil needs to go back into this starting setup, which we don't even have the start setup completed because it's kind of a thing. I don't know. We're gonna need to get another big tank for that, a BAT 9000. Aromatic hydrocarbons are gonna come up here like so. As you can see, they go up through there, and then look at this. We got a nice little walking path between these, but it would be better if this pipe didn't have to go here next to this tank, but it has to be this way. The actual power for the entire setup is gonna come from the RTGs mostly, so I will probably set the cable going into a cable block through the floor, like this, for all of them, and then it will go up into a central storage unit. Actually, there will be no central storage unit, it will just go into the system as is. Although a central storage unit would be pretty smart. Maybe we should do that. I don't know. I do have the stuff for it. I got the niobium, so I mean, this might be the way to go. This is actually a pretty cool way of setting this up. It looks really weird, but kind of actually interesting. The way I've set it up is that it's just a one-way diode kind of capacitor setup, but it's different from how I usually set up capacitor setups. Capacitor setups are usually way different than this, but this seems amazing. So, now that we've got that done, it's time to basically mine out the rest of this garbage. Diesel disposal. That sounds like a pretty cool thing, but it actually is not. So we get a bunch of this rubbish, right? This industrial oil, engine lubricant, stuff that we don't really need. The engine lubricant is actually pretty useful. We definitely should try to set up that one thing again. Maybe we can make ionized particles again. That'd be interesting to set up. So I can automate helium-4 for massive amounts of energy. Naphtha, heating oil, and diesel. So what is this? What are we doing with the heating oil or the diesel? Well, we came up with a plan last episode to dispose of it pretty efficiently. I'm not sure it's the most efficient method, but it is a pretty efficient method, and I'm pretty sure I like it. So we're gonna use one of these guys, probably run him off of the heating oil from the actual production, and then just, well, churn out a bunch of petroleum coke, which I can then send over to the power plant, or actually the steel plant, get our steel number from 9,000 to 10,000 steel ingots, which would be pretty ridiculous, but hey, this is HBM mod. It's supposed to be pretty insane what you can do when you get to the end game, and also pretty inspirational for new players to see what you can do once you get to the end game, because honestly, whenever I do one of these series, I always think back to seeing what other people have done, seeing what other builds people have made. It's always nice, because people have made some amazing things, and yeah, it's just amazing. At least end game stuff is amazing to see. I love that. I mean, some early game stuff is also pretty amazing, pretty cool. Some pretty cool setups for that. PWRs and stuff, and all the different creations you can make if you put your mind to it. But let's stop getting all, I don't even know the words. Let's make some heating oil, run through the system into this coking setup. And the reason I want to do this setup is because you can dispose of the coke or naphtha in a very interesting way. Right, so diesel now, we need to set up the diesel pipe, which is gonna go, and you can walk under these now. Thank goodness, it still can't walk under the corners. Did you used to be able to walk under the corners? No, you've never been able to walk under these. Maybe you were able to walk under these, and I'm just stupid. I thought you used to not be able to walk under this part, though, that part of the model, which is weird. I don't know. But basically, that is the diesel setup, which disposes of diesel, turning it into coke or naphtha, which we've seen coke or naphtha can actually be made into coke or naphtha. Where is it? Coke or naphtha. What can you do with that? You can reform it for BTX. Other stuff. And liquid hydrogen. I mean, liquid hydrogen is the most useless of them. But big, yeah, thing, doohickey. Well, actually, you can turn coke or naphtha into cracked naphtha and cracked light oil, which you can then turn into cracked naphtha, so reform it in aromatic hydrocarbons, or with the cracked light oil, you can turn it into, reform it gas and aromatic hydrocarbons. So, yeah, actually, you might be better off doing it the other way. Although, it's a bit of a split, and actually, you can coke them again. So if you do it with the fractioning method, you get to coke or gas, which gives you aromatic hydrocarbons, carbon dioxide. Kind of not useful stuff, but this coke or whatever it is, the coke or naphtha, this is probably the best way to go as far as your yields are concerned, is to reform it. One of these processes specifically requires BTX, benzene, toluene, xylene, and to get that, I think you can make it from this reformant gas type of setup by getting the reformant from diesel. Yes, you can. So that would be the best way for us to do this. We'll need to make a new reformer, which I guess we can do that next episode or whenever we need to do that. But catalytic reformer will go right over here, hooked up to this setup, which is actually weird because I've never set up something that needs a coker and then this thing. Actually, it should go the other way, shouldn't it? But the other way, we're having the rest of the oil setup, I guess. The vacuum light oil setup, which is, or vacuum oil setup, which is going to end up being weird. I like a nice change every now and again, and this is one of those nice changes because it changes how we're doing things completely to a new level. So coke or naphtha goes in there, we're getting out reformant gas. The reformant's going to be turned into BTX. The reformant gas, it's going to just be reformant gas, and it's going to do whatever that does. Do we have the catalytic converter on us, or is it in the bin? It's probably in the bin. Oh, I'm not going to like making another one of these, which is that's probably why I haven't changed this. Well, actually, no. That doesn't have anything to do with it. The reason I haven't changed it is because I'm lazy. Didn't want to do it. But now that I have you all watching, I gotta do it. So, I guess that just hooks straight into the thingy, which is weird, but, I mean, it works, so, I mean, can't really complain about that, now can we? That means we'll need a new fractioning tower, which will take the actual reformant from this and turn it to the reformant gas or whatever, and then we'll need another setup for disposing of hydrogen, which is probably going to be a gas flare, because I want to do that. I haven't made one of them yet. So, we'll go ahead and set up a reformant to reformant gas. Or what is it called? Reformant to BTX, aromatic hydrocarbons. Aromatic hydrocarbons go down to here again. Or, we can pipe them over that through the actual surface level. I think that's what I'm going to do, is go on the surface, keep that walkway so we can have maintenance access to everything. It would be amazing.